Dun, dun, dun.
Welcome, Metal Summoners. We are super duper stoked to be back here with you guys. We will have our guest on shortly, so we're just kicking it off. Welcome back to your Island of Misfit Toys with myself, with the real Psycho Steve, with Angel Alamo, and Bobby will be on with us as well in a little bit. We are super stoked to get into hanging out with our guests and everything like that. It's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we are super stoked to talk spooky season with Jerry. So we will have him on in a little bit. So we're just going to shoot around a little bit, talk a little bit about everything that we've got going on. And we are going to do none of that because we are going to jump right into it with our guest. Jerry, it's great to see you again, my friend. It's been a minute since M3, but thank you for joining us.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good, man. Good. Super duper stoked to have you, man, for sure. First and foremost, man, how's everything going with you?
Everything's going great, man. I've just been really busy working, and it's been a super busy year, and now it's to the end of the year, and finally the schedules is cleared up, so I have catch up on 100 things, but it's all good, man, because I get a chance to work on music and do the shit I need to do,
Absolutely, man, 100%. And you just got done doing a really successful series of dates over the last year plus with Stephen Piercy. How did everything go with that?
It went good, man. It was fun. I think I was filling in for one show, and it turned into 2 years.
That's a nice
So
date.
I mean, it was cool. It's interesting to switch to such a complete opposite other spectrum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I went into it kind of just to do one show. And then as it went on, I mean, it was fun, but it was different for me because I'm a different kind of an animal than that,
Yeah.
So you have to learn to adapt to the environment, which was cool,
Absolutely, man, for sure. When it came to that gig, were you just kind of a phone call away, and they just needed a guy, and they were just like, hey, let's see if Jerry's down?
Yeah, it was kind of we had him and I have a mutual friend, my very good friend Glenn Hetrick. He's a special effects makeup guy. He has a TV show called Face Off. But him and I have been friends for 25 years, and it just turned into this thing where he always invites me to his Christmas party, Halloween party, fucking Cinco de Mayo, whatever. And Piercy happened to be there because his wife is friends with his girlfriend. So we ended up meeting that way and hitting it off. So then for a good few years, we were always texting each other about starting a fun side band, a heavy band. And then he ended up needing somebody for the live stream because his bass player didn't want to travel for COVID reasons. So it just turned into a whole thing,
Nice.
Yeah.
No, man. Absolutely. Super duper cool. Well, one of the things that was super stoked about having you on for this particular episode was it's spooky season. It's October and it's Halloween time. And you and I got to talk at M3 a little bit about your tenure in Danzig. I've been a big Danzig guy my whole life, and I loved the record that you did with him, Circle of Snakes, and we were talking about that at M3. As well as you also playing on the Lost Tracks of Danzig, which we can get into as well. But talk a little bit about your tenure in Danzig, how you got involved in playing with Glenn, and how and what you thought of your time there.
I had a blast playing with him. We had known each other for years prior, but there was always kind of we had opened up for Danzig when I was in earlier bands before I ever had a record deal. So during Danzig 5 and shit like that, we had we had played with Danzig for his Halloween parties and shit like that.
Yeah.
So we already knew each other for a long time, and basically what it came down to was Johnny Kelly's one of my best friends. Mm-hmm. So me and Johnny go way back from when I got my first deal in '98 with Elektra. One of our very first tours was Typo Negative on World Coming Down. So, and I was a huge Pantera, Typo Negative fan. So I'll never forget when we found out we were going out with Typo on that tour. I was so excited. I didn't know any of them, but from that time, Johnny and I became like legit, like we're still like best friends. And so he ended up playing drums in Danzig. And then when he knew that Howie Pyro, our other friend who passed away from Degeneration in Danzig, when Howie was going to be leaving the band to play with Todd Youth, another gone, our friends that's gone, Glenn asked about me. So it just worked out. You know what I mean? Like I called him, hey, I heard that that you're interested, you want me to come play bass and, whatever. So I learned all these songs and shit. And then I went down and met with him at his office and he was like, all right, you're in the band. And I'm like, so I learned all those songs for nothing. But it was cool. So I ended up joining the band, and I stayed in the band for a really long time, from Elusiferi, then we did Circle of Snakes, and we did that whole thing. And then during that time, it was mainly Tommy Victor and I, but then Todd Youth would come back here and there if Tommy like had something with Prong that he had to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
a mixed match of drummers and guitar players, you know how it is with those gigs. It's the same thing with playing with the 80s guy, so they just want to see that dude sing. So if somebody can't make the show, you don't know it doesn't matter who's playing, because it's, you're going to see the singer sing the show. So, so over the years it was a mixed match, but I pretty much stayed for a very long time. And then he was doing Lost Tracks, and I ended up playing on a lot of that too, which was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had talked also a little bit about like, just kind of like, because you've got a really heavy tone. It works really great for the style that Glenn plays, and that was something that kind of drew me to what you were doing with him. But you were also talking about how you were kind of approached a little bit to kind of rework some of those tracks and stuff like that.
It wasn't really so much rework them. They were the original tracks from the first 3 or 4 records. And he ended up getting the masters back from Rick Rubin. So when he got them back, he was going through them all to do Lost Tracks. But for whatever reason, he didn't want certain people's bass track, certain people on it, or he wanted to change it. And personally, I was like, those are like the original, like no one's ever heard these songs from Danzig 1 or Lucifuge. You know what I mean? And it was Chuck, John, Erie, like the originals. And I didn't want, I was just kind of like, you should just keep them the way that they sounded perfect. But he didn't want to do that. And it was kind of like a thing where, well, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it anyway. So I just ended up like re-recording some of them. Some of them he slowed down, he tweaked out some of them, but it was cool to be one of the first people to hear those songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but they're like, as you know, they're legit Rick Rubin recordings from that first fucking record.
Yeah.
So, I love that record. I was honored to be able to even be a small part of it. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
Same thing with, Circle of Snakes too, that was a totally different animal, but it was cool to be able to be a part of it.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and that's just miswording on my part. I didn't mean so much like reworking, because they were the legit tracks, but just re-recording. He was really into like things being down tuned and lower, so some of those songs are actually slowed down on the reel to reel, because they were 2-inch tape from back in like 87 or 88 or whatever. Yeah. So the reels, because they were so old, you got to like send them to have them baked and do all this shit to them, just to ensure that when you
put them on that they're not stuck together and they don't break. So he did that, and then he transferred over to Pro Tools or whatever. But a lot of them he slowed down, which I thought the originals were like unfucking believable,
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
but as he would always say, I mean, that's why it's called Danzig and not Montano. You know what I mean? So.
Absolutely, man. 100%. Steve, let's kick it up to you, brother.
Well, I happen to be very fortunate. I've got to see Danzig in many formations with so many projects, and because I'm a Jersey boy, please don't hold it against me.
I love Jersey, man. We used to fucking back in the old day. The Birch Hill was the fucking spot forever, man.
I used to work there.
You did?
Yeah, I was so Art Stock, the former owner, had a crush on my girlfriend at the time, and he gave me keys to this beat up minivan, and he said he didn't want any of the bands taking up any of their parking with the tour bus.
Right.
So he'd say when they were staying at the Macintosh Inn, he said, go pick them up and bring them back to the hotel. Now, I was just starting in radio. I was a DJ in between band sets for a lot of the local shows and regional shows that would play at the Birch Hill. So I would go
like SOU and all that shit back in the day, right?
Exactly. So then I would bring my Metal Edge magazine or Rip magazine, and I would go to this Macintosh Inn on Route 18 in East Brunswick. I'd be like, hi, I'm Psycho Steve. I'm here to pick up Dockin. And then there's George and Mick would come down together. And then I would have to drive them. And then because George and Don weren't talking, I would have to go back and pick up, Jeff and Don and a different. And then, of course, when they loaded out, of course, they were allowed to bring the tour bus back or whatever. But that's what I did for him a long time. So he was trying to make his moves on my ex-girlfriend.
I love that place. That place is cool. I played there I think the very first tours I ever did, the first tour we ever did was with Static X and Dope. And the first show was at Birch Hill. And then our second tour was with Slipknot and Biohazard in 99 to maybe.
I thought it was 2000. I saw you there.
Maybe, 2000 we were there quite a few times. Was it with Slipknot?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so then it was 99 or 2000. I remember Slipknot and Biohazard at the Birch Hill. That was a cool. I still have pictures of that. Back in the day when, they didn't want to show their faces. So all my old pictures of everybody, they're all like, I have regular pictures too, but they would always cover their face like Kiss and shit. It's pretty funny.
Right. And then Danzig went on tour when they did what was it, Ozfest.
Yeah. I was on the 2000 Ozfest.
Right.
And then I went to the one with Danzig because so when I first started playing, when I first moved to LA, I just worked at this like record store place, I didn't even really work there. I just hung out there. I was like a fucking, like a street kid punk rocker hanging out with El Duce and like Christian Death, Roz Williams, and all these like, Hollywood punk rockers and shit. And I didn't even have anywhere to live. I lived on the floor of my one friend's place for a little while, me and HR from Bad Brain. So like I would sleep, HR would be like, if I put my arm over,
I played with HR.
Yeah. I've known HR for 25 plus years.
I gigged with he and Chuck Treese.
I know them. Yeah. HR is an interesting guy. He's a really loving, sweetheart person, like real to the core, but almost like a comic book character. And he's always been that way. He's stoned. But as long as I ever knew him, I mean, he 90% of the time he slept on the streets, man, like literally on the streets. And people would be like, HR, and you didn't know if he was going to be like, he's always been a sweetheart. You just never know which one you're going to meet. You're going to meet the Rastafarian HR, or you're going to meet like a different HR. Hey, man, But I will say he was always nothing but kind. He's always been a fucking peaceful, loving dude and real, fucking real to the core. Like the music thing, anything that he's done, it it doesn't phase him or affect him on any sort of level. He could give a fuck less, honestly, you know. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time with him. I was like living on this guy Marco's floor with HR. He was like booking punk bands, and then I ended up, I had nowhere to live. I was living on the roof of this fucking record store, this like punk rock store on Hollywood Boulevard called the Rock Shop. And I would just fucking sleep on the roof, fucking come down off the roof in the daytime. El Duce would be passed out there every fucking day. The guy who owned the store would let me like have my bags in the bathroom of the shop. So when he opened at 11, I would like bird bath and then just hang out in this poster shop all day long, you know, sweeping floors for like $5, you know. And then I ended up, you know, meeting like, I already knew like a lot of the punk rock people, because when I was a teenager, before I moved to LA, I had a good friend, Mark Curry, who was like an acoustic guitar player, singer guy. And I had like come up around like NoFX, El Jefe, and, you know, been around a lot of the NoFX guys when I was a teenager, and Dogpatch Winos, all this punk rockers. So when I moved to Hollywood, I already kind of knew all them, you know, like Bob Lush. Bob is the fucking, you know, he spent 15 years getting loaded, you know, the NoFX song and shit.
Wow.
But somebody invited me to a party, like, hey, but you know, my friends are having this like fucking party. I'm like, all right. So I go, and it's like all these apartments open with the doors open, you know, and everybody's getting fucked up and shit. And I was like, man, this is the coolest shit ever. We're partying in these empty apartments. And finally I met the guy, and I'm like, how the fuck do you have this? He's like, well, you know, I'm a hairstylist in Beverly Hills for my regular job, but I am apartment manager here, and they give me cheaper rent. So, you know, I have parties every once in a while. I'm like, man, that's crazy. You know, so we start talking, and, you know, I'm a bass player. I moved here from Sacramento, and he's like, oh, I'm in a band too, but we broke up. And I'm like, that's cool. And he's like, you should check it out. It's still, you know, it's heavy. It's called Cold Chamber. And I was like, all right, that's cool. So I ended up, it was Dez from Devil Driver on Cold Chamber. So him and I just like hit it off right away. Then I met Meigs like the same night. And I'm like, oh, I live on the roof of the Rock Shop on Hollywood Boulevard. And they were like, fuck that, just live on our floor. So I moved into the Cold Chamber house. They got back together. And then for all that like first year, and that goes back to the Ozfest, you know, I was like driving them around in my girlfriend's car, picking up their amps, and then we'd go to the shows and shit before Cold Chamber got signed to Roadrunner again, you know? So I think later on, Raina, the original bass player, was my roommate, and they played the first, I think it was the first Ozfest, the first real Ozfest was with Danzig, right?
Yep.
So that was the one. I think Cold Chamber played real. I just remember we had to be there at like 9 o'clock in the morning or something. It was super cold, and they played early, and we were just like, I still have that laminates or whatever. But, you know, it goes with those guys and a lot of those people, you know, it goes way back. And that's kind of like the whole start of everything, you know. It was like, I was like kind of, you know, I was always into metal, but I was also like a little punk rock kid too at the same time, you know, and just kind of just found my way over time. And, you know, this is in like what I'm talking about. This probably happened in 93, 94, you know, early days when I remember we would all be, Chavo and I were talking about this not too long ago. Is we're still really close, and he lives down the street from my house. We're super tight. We're brothers forever. But so we'll go have lunch or whatever. But sometimes we'll be talking like, dude, can you believe this shit? Like, we're still friends since we were like 20 years old, you know? And like, you know, we used to we would have cake parties at the Cold Chamber house and sit in the front yard just like every kid does. You know what I mean? And it would be me, fucking Darren and Chavo from System, and then Lynn Strait started coming around, and Mikey Doling, and fucking Static, you know, Wayne and
Trip.
No, he wasn't around then. He was in Dope, but it was like, this is the early days, you know. Like I booked Static's very first show in Hollywood. As I just met them, they just moved here. They didn't know anybody, and I ended up meeting Ken, and then Wayne. I met Koichi like a year before from like an ad in the Recycler or something, trying to start a band, You know, I mean, you barely speak English. You know, I was like, but we all, you know, all of us. I have flyers of System, Cold Chambers, Static, you know, Fear Factory, Downset, Head P. All of us in the early days, like all of us on a Wednesday night for $3. You know, like, and we would just be sitting in the front yard drinking beers. Like, dude, when we're rock stars someday, man, you know, and like Devin Townsend would come over. He was like one of our buddies, and he had Strappy Young Lad, and he was like, him and Dino were the only people that we really knew that had really done anything yet, you know, besides like Prong, but those weren't the dudes that hung out with us. But we'd be like, you know, but we were determined, you know, and it's fun to look back on. I mean, my very first band was me and Blasco from Ozzy. So he had a band called Drown, and then when Drown and Yesterday's Tear broke up, he had this band called Suffer, and I ended up being in that band with him, and that was like my first like LA band before moving. You know, kind of just it moved on. He went on. It's funny because he left and went to Prong, and then went to Danzig. It's like we followed almost the same, you know. It was kind of like the same little steps and shit like that, you know, and ended up like playing with this band Pygmy Love Circus. It was like a Hollywood band in the old days with Danny Carey from Tool and shit. You know, you just end up in random shit. But I remember I got my first band and with Blasco, and I didn't have a bass, and all the guys in Cold Chamber were like, "Get Jerry in your band. He's an awesome bass player. He's killer." And they'd be like, "Dude, I hope you could play." You know, I'm like, no, I can't. And their only real person that I knew when I was like 18 was Paul Raven from Prong and Killing Joke. And he kind of took me under his wing when I was like 16, 17 years old, you know? And so when I moved to LA and I got in the band, I was like living on floors. I had a bass and I had to pawn it so I could fucking eat and like just have a $1 Whopper, man. You know, I had nothing, $0, no fucking job. And I ended up pawning my bass. And I remember I worked at Tower Records for like months, saving it before I moved to LA. And the Tower Records warehouse, you know, it's funny when you watch that Tower Records documentary, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but all those dudes, I grew up with all of them. Most of them were like my actual bosses and shit, Russ Solomon and all these like crazy people, you know.
I heard about that documentary, but I haven't seen it.
It's good, you know. It was an interesting job. I mean, I loved it. I lived in Sacramento, and me and Chi from Deftones worked with each other. And so I would like steal books, and then he would steal magazines from me. I'd be like, "Here's all your Bukowski bullshit. Give me all the metal magazines," you know. But anyway, so I got into the band with Blasco. I didn't have a bass, and I was like, "Fuck, what am I gonna do?" You know. So I called Paul Raven, and I was like, "Yo, Raven," I go, "Hey, it's Jerry from Sacramento. I moved to LA, and I got in a band with Rob Nicholson from Drown." And he's like, "No way, that's killer." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't have a bass." And I'm like, you know, I have $137.57 left or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'll give it. I know that you're a huge rock star. You get endorsements and you probably have free guitars if you could sell me a bass. And it was funny because he was like, "Mate, no problem." You know, he gave me his address. I swear to fucking God, his address was 4 houses down from the Cold Chamber house. That's where he was the whole time.
Wow.
I was like, "I'm on Poinsettia and Fountain right now." And he's like, "That's where I live." So I like walked outside. He walked out his door and he was right there. I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I went over and I'm like, "Dude," he's like, pulls out this case and he puts it out. He's like, "Yeah, you know, I have this bass you could, you know, that you could use. It's a 5-string, so I play 5-string." And it was the exact color, the exact make and model of the bass that I pawned, identical.
Holy
it was
shit.
a Jackson 5-string charcoal sparkle black. And it was the identical fucking bass that I fucking pawned. It wasn't the bass, but it was exactly the same, brand new. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" And I gave him the money. I'm like, "Dude, this is all I have." And he was like, "You know what, bro? I know you're going to do something. I've always believed in you." He's like, "I don't want your money. Just fucking play." and he gave it to me, and I played that all the way until I got signed to Elektra in 98, 99 with Sylvia Rhone and all that shit, you know, and I smashed it on stage.
So you don't own the bass anymore, do you?
What's that?
Do you still own the bass?
No, I wish that I did. It was broken into pieces at one of the last shows. And you know, it was like all beaten to death. I played it forever and ever, you know, and Raven and I stayed fucking family all the way till the end. I talked to Paul Raven while he was like a day before he left to go overseas to go work on the record that he was working on when he passed away, which was interesting. But and just a couple of weeks ago, he sent me a prototype of his first pedal. It's like a Protone pedal or something. But the one that I have, it's all like, you know, silk screen and hand screwed together. I still have it. Fucking, I found it the other day. I was like, oh man, you know. And I loved Killing Joke when I was a kid, you know.
You guys played Birchill too.
Killing Joke?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then I also saw you guys in Philly a couple times as well.
At the Electric Factory or the Trocadero?
Both.
Oh, okay.
And then you also played this place in Trenton. I don't know if you remember. You played it.
I do remember I remember that name.
City Gardens.
Probably. I don't know. I mean, it's funny because, you know, still some you know, people will be like, oh, remember that? You know, and I'm like, dude, I used to drink so much. I mean, and I was 24, 25 years old then, you know. It was just it was a whole, you know, it was different, you know, like the metal scene was thriving, you know, there was all kinds of shit popping off all the time. And all of a sudden we all had like $1 million record deals and fucking tour buses and, you know, like out of a movie and shit, you know.
Well, speaking of record deals, because, you know, record deals aren't like they are now. My question is, when you get your advance, of course, you split it amongst the producer and, of course, your management and, of course, the band members. What did you buy for your first, like, what was your big purchase that you bought that you said, I'm signed to Elektra, fuck you all, I'm buying myself?
You know, it's funny because when we got signed, we got a shit ton of money, but we kind of got fucked right out the gate. It was weird because at the time, you know, we were just a band from Orange County, kind of like, you know, what's the chances of anything ever happening, you know? And I remember we recorded the Deadlight song, Sweet Oblivion, and I looked at the guitar player, singer, Duke, and I was like, dude, that's the song. I know it. So I called my friend Jeff, who's a magician, and he played in a band with me too. And I'm like, dude, I need a lawyer, you know, somebody who can help shop it. He's like, actually, I have a friend, you know, he's this guy. And it was this fucking dude that ended up in that fucking Dawkins bullshit or something. This guy, John Levin. So he wasn't a guitar player. He was a lawyer. And so at the time, he was like, he got our demo and then called me and is like, listen, how about this? Me and my buddy will sign you guys right now, and we have 3 months to get you signed. It has to be Warner, Elektra, or Atlantic. And I promise $250,000 and like, you know, 13 points. Damn. And we were like, okay, that sounds like a good deal. Fuck, I mean, what's the chances of us being on a fucking major label? Well, they had already fucking sent that shit, and the deal ended up being close to $1 million fucking dollars. And then they were like, okay, well, here's your 250. Everything after 250, we split. But you guys, you know, but we have to pay it all back. So they were walking with like fucking $300K for nothing. Damn. So we ended up fighting these fucking cocksuckers for like 4 or 5 months, you know, with our lawyer, like going back and forth, like, nope, fuck you. And it's crazy because before we started working with them, Lars wanted to sign us from Metallica because he had a label called The Record Company. And so, you know, through my, who was the manager for the Deadlights, my old drummer, his guy, Joey Gold, who's still a dear friend of mine. He was in a band called Love Hate, like a hair band.
Yeah, Disney Pearl.
Which is
Yeah. But him and I played together for a while, and then he was friends with Lars and Lars's assistant guy. So they ended up being really interested. And then when Levin and them took it to Sylvia Rohn, the president of Elektra, she was like, that's it. They're my band. I'm signing them. That's it. So we had to go with it. We went with Elektra through these other guys. But, going back, we didn't know shit. You sign something stupid and then you're in this fucking bullshit thing to where, you're on the hook for $1.5 million.
Yeah.
And somebody else is running around playing fucking record guy that doesn't know what he's doing at all. Just some dickhead and fucking running up the tab, and fucking trying to, buying radio people, fucking whatever, you know what I mean? Like on your card. So we learned a lot from that. So the answer is I didn't buy shit. I think I got like 20 grand and I was like, fuck, just happy to be able to like pay my rent, like, fuck yeah, I can pay my rent. I got rent. I go to the bar, get some drugs, get some booze, have fun. Back then it was like, it was all the chase. Like, yeah, we're signed. You waited for that golden moment. I remember in the 90s in Hollywood, you knew you made it when Eddie Ortel, our buddy, who was the sound guy at the Roxy, because we started at the Coconut Teaser, and then we had moved to the Roxy, the whiskey, and then the Roxy type thing. And it was like you waited for the day when Eddie would say, please welcome such and such. I remember the night when it was like, Snot, System, fucking Cold Chamber, Roadrunner recording. And it was like the big rite of passage, the night that you would play your show and then he would announce you as such and such recording artist, So that's what it was all about then, I mean, I think I was so naive and just like a kid who just like wanted to do music so badly and be a part of the scene. I mean, I'd been playing already by the time I had moved to LA. I think I got signed. I got my first big deal when I was 24 and I had moved to LA when I was like 18 or 19, but I had been playing since I was 12. I mean, when I was like 14, I was opening up for like Forbidden and Death Angel and fucking Testament and shit in Sacramento at the Cattle Club and shit. You know what I mean? Like, I remember opening up for COC on the Blind tour, and I played with Zach Wilde at a guitar clinic for some shit. Like
another Jersey boy.
Yeah,
16. Oh, he used to him and Barbara Ann are family to me. I love them dearly.
I'll be with Zach on Monday.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, Bobby, take it away, buddy. You're up.
So I'm gonna go a little deep on you. How about Nothing Face?
Nothing Face.
Let's go a little bit deep right there.
Nothing Face is very dear to my heart. In '92, Nothing Face came from Baltimore on their own little tour with a different singer, this guy Dave Gabbard.
Yeah.
And they played in Sacramento at this place called the Soundwave. And I just saw them. I didn't know them. I just went, I happened to be at the club every night drinking, and this band came through and there was no one there and all these fucking lights, and they were just so heavy. And so I was blown away. So Tom Maxwell and I, we just fucking talk, broke down, and they stayed the night and we hung out. Tom got his very first tattoo at my house that night.
House.
Yeah, my roommate tattooed him. He got his very first tattoo, and they were like, okay, now we're going to LA to go play. And I remember I was like, right on, man, that's cool. All right, well, nice meeting you. And they're like, fuck it, you should just come with us. And I'm like, all right. So I jumped in the van with them and came to Hollywood for one of the I think it might have been the first or second time I'd ever been here. I jumped in the van with the guys from Nothing Face. And I remember because we got out and we're like, fuck yeah, Sunset Strip, all this shit. And there were no people anywhere. We thought it'd be like Las Vegas, like 24 hours, whatever. It was probably 91 or 92.
Yeah.
And I remember because there were all the flowers and all the shit was outside the Viper room for River Phoenix. Like, was still out there. And we were all fucked up. I remember I was like, fuck River Phoenix. I fucking pissed all over it or something. Like, you know what I mean? Just like obnoxious little fucking punk rock fuck, you know? And they played a show. We hung out. And then I went back to Sacramento. They went on with their tour. And we just stayed friends for years. So after the Deadlights in 99, 2000, when we got dropped from Elektra, I had saw Nothing Face a few times. Like, they got signed and then they came to the Foundations Forum. Walter and Kim had and Andy Gould had this, like a convention here in LA with all metal bands and shit. It was cool. It's like a horror convention, but all metal bands.
Yeah, you guys did a bunch of gigs there with, you know, Disturbed and everything else.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I go way back with them too. And so basically I just stayed in touch with him. And then when Deadlights got dropped in 2000 after the Ozfest, you know, they were like, okay, you know, you guys only sold 275,000 copies, utter failure. See you later. Bye. Now you'd be like Billboard #1, you know? And I came home and I had to fucking get a job. And I remember I walked down Sunset Boulevard. I got a job at the Virgin Mega Store. And I walk in for this job interview. And the dude that worked there, he worked at Century Media too. And he's like, hey, dude, what's up? Are you here for a signing? And I'm like, no. Like, I'm here to work, like a job. So I worked downstairs in the shipping department for like 6 days at this job, stealing everything. You know, I was just like stealing fucking CDs and shit. I was like, fuck this place. I'm just robbing these motherfuckers blind. and my phone kept ringing. It was Tom Maxwell. And he was like, dude, give me a call back. Give me a call back. And I was like, oh, I don't know, drama or something. Who fucking knows? You know what I mean? Like, maybe I fucked some chick or we got to, you know, who knows? So I didn't want to call him back. Finally, he got me on the phone. He was like, listen, Bill quit. And as soon as he said Bill quit, the T didn't even come out. I'm like, I'm in the band. I'm in the band. I'm in the band. I'm the bass player. I'm in the band. And he was like, well, you have to talk to Matt, singer. And I'm like, fuck Matt. I'm in the band, you know? And yeah. And I was just about to, I was going to Dallas for a couple of weeks, like the next day or something, to go, because I played in a band with Dime and Vinny called Gasoline, their side band. So after Ozfest, we became such good friends that they asked me to be in their band. So I was going to do New Year's Eve in Dallas, and then we were doing like a string of like, you know, fun like covers and a couple of originals, you know. And so I was like, dude, I want to do it. And I ended up in Texas at Dimes, and Tom's calling me, and I'm like, dude, he's like, yeah, it's good, it's in. And Dime's like, give me a fucking phone. Dime's like, listen, man, he used to call me Deadlight, the Deadlight, you know. He'd be like, put Deadlight in your fucking band, and Pantera will take you guys on tour. And he's like, he's already in the band. He's like, listen, motherfucker, put the Deadlight in the band. He's like, he's in the band. He just didn't register. I'm like, no, I'm already in the band. He's like, you better put him in the fucking band, you know. And so we finished those shows, and then, dude, I came home for like, I never went back to that job. That day that he called me, I remember I sat up from the stool and walked out of the basement up the stairs, and my boss was like, hey, are you going on a break? And I was just kept walking, walked all the way home, never got my check, nothing, just fuck this place, never looked back. So after the shows with Daryl and spending like a week or so with Dime, I came home, you know, for like one day, got on a plane, flew to fucking Baltimore, got picked up, jammed for like 2 days in downtown Baltimore at our practice place, and then fucking the next third day was like sold out Irving Plaza, and fucking we just started on tour again, you know. I did that for quite some time, and that's where we became friends with Chad Gray. So, and
Very
Mudvayne,
cool.
and Disturbed took us out quite a few times. As Draymond was like just one of my dearest. Like, there's certain people, you know, I mean, you're friends with a lot of people, but then there's some people that you're just, you know, like we're family forever, you know, and Chavo and Draymond, people like that, Dez, we're like, you know, it isn't really, it's never been about what we do, you know what I mean? We're just like family forever, you know, and so
Like
Draymond's
the
always been like
four
that. He
of us
took us
here.
out.
So I totally get what you're saying. It's like the four of us here. They're
Yeah.
like my brothers.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely.
Like to somebody else, they might see you guys as the metal summit and be like, man, that's so fucking cool. These guys talk to all these rock stars and da 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 da. But to you guys like, you give a fuck if, you know, if your buddy can't pay his rent or if he's going through something or if you want to just go have lunch or shoot the shit or something. You know what I mean? It's friendship. And that's how it is with 99% of us. You know, we've all known each other for so long. You know, we're like family, you know, after forever. And even sometimes the people that there's people that I couldn't stand in the beginning, but after 20 years, you're like, fuck, man, we're all still here. You know, you have like a mutual respect and you end up becoming friends, you know?
For sure.
But
I mean,
with Nothing Face, it was like that. So, you know, Tom and I had gone way, way back. I joined the band. We fucking killed it, did all the fucking violence era stuff. We were fucking raging, fucking crazy. I was always out of control. And then I ended up being booted out because I was so fucking crazy. Well, Bill was coming back. And so I ended up leaving, and then I did another band where we got signed to Flawless with Fred Durst, like around 9/11. And then, but we always stayed I talked to Tom every single day. No, not every day, but once, twice a week. We're like, you know, he's probably my closest friend of my wife. You know what I mean? And we're just like that. We're working on music all the time. We're always, you know, everything is. We're always working on something or brewing on something, and Nothing Face was something that we take such pride in because it was just like we just wanted to fucking dominate and destroy and fucking just be like the fucking heaviest motherfuckers. Fuck everybody. We're you know, that was our thing. How much booze you gonna drink? All of it. You know what I mean? How much you gonna, you know, we're gonna fucking. Even if we played with Pantera, they're gonna be like, fuck, they're heavy. And that's how it was. We went to do every single show to fucking just destroy any band, even if they were our friends, just kill. And that, you know, we loved it. And, you know, it was a good time. I mean, it's something I'm very prideful of what we did. I actually have the tattoos, but, you know, and then Matt passed away. And so, you know, towards the end, I was trying to like find a way for us to do one more thing, you know, and I was always kind of like, I knew that Matt's addiction was, you know, and his situation, I didn't ever really feel that he would, you know, that he would be around forever. And then the kind of music that we do and the caliber of what it is, you know, it's not like you're going to be 50-year-old fucking men killing it like that, you know. So I had finally gotten everybody to kind of, you know, consider doing some shit because we have like 20 songs still never released, you know.
oh,
And
wow.
and it just didn't work, man. Matt was having too hard of a time, and he was physically, you know, not in any position, and then he passed away, and I was like, you know, it was hard, but I got on a fucking plane, flew down there, and we fucking, you know, we buried our boy, you know, tragically and fucked up, you know. I mean, that same thing with Duke from the Deadlight, same thing with Vinny, same thing with Dime, same thing with Peter. It's like, you know, it's like the ongoing thing, but I guess it's like, you know, that's part of living is dying, right? I mean, it's just sad that a lot of people have left. but yeah, I miss them. I miss all of them. But I think of like what we never got to do. We always still wanted to take it to like just go out and do it another time. But without Matt, there's no Nothing Face. Without Vinny, there's no any of how it is. It's like it's just that's how it is. I mean, I wouldn't say without Vinny because they're doing other things, but without Duke, there's no Deadlights. There could never be.
Let me throw this out. So with Charlie Benanti and everything going about the
Charlie's a good friend of mine. I love him.
But with the whole thing with Zach, and you mentioned it, what do you think about with the going out as a tribute next year?
I think that there are so many people that love that band and that they want to hear those songs. And Philip is the voice of that band.
Yeah.
And if anybody on this fucking planet Earth could fucking kill it on the drums and do it justice, it's Charlie Benante. He's got the feet. He can do it. And he was very close with Vinny. I mean, when I didn't know him. I've just gotten to know him. But I remember at Dime's funeral meeting Charlie. So there could not be there's not a better drummer to do that. And there's not a better guitar player to pay tribute to that, to Dime's playing. I mean, those two were so close. I've had some crazy fucking times with Dime and Z together, like craziest shit of my life.
Look, I'm with Zach on the Kiss Cruise. I'm packing in extra liver.
He doesn't drink. He's sober now. He's fine.
Okay, we'll bring extra edibles.
Just bring extra O'Douls.
Yeah, he'll drink O'Douls. He's all about his coffee. He's always been just one of the best people. He's like a big brother to me, Zach. And I'm lucky to be able to say that. But yeah, so as far as the Pantera thing goes, you can't, if they're them doing it, I think that it's going to be fucking killer. It's going to be monstrous. It'll be heavy, and it's what a better group of people to pay tribute to the brothers than them.
You get a lot of the naysayers who, Steve, who says they shouldn't, put this together. But
it's like I've been in the camp. What's that?
I'm just breaking Steve's balls because he was like, when this all came about, Steve was like, "Oh, Polly Pizzy Pants over there."
Well, some people I can understand where I mean, look, there's all these different things. There's what Dime felt about it, what Vinny felt about it, what this person felt about it. I understand because I was in the camp and in the family forever, and I still am a part of the family and all that. But at the same time, I think that when it becomes a point to where the band is bigger than even the people that are in it when it comes to people that want to hear the music. And if God forbid, fucking, who's next, like, I think that people will enjoy it. And
Mary, let's throw this out. Look what just happened 2 weeks ago, where you had, Wolfie, and you had, Taylor's son playing fucking Wolfie. I mean, come on. The fucking fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. And watching Wolfgang Van Halen play there and what he did in London, I'm like, God damn. If there's going to be a VH tribute and everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think, I mean, I'm sure
Wolfgang out that,
I'm sure. I mean, he was in the band too. I mean, I think it would be great. I think that and I don't know because I'm not in that camp, but it seems like from the outside perspective that the singer, is kind of all over the place. As you notice, you see, he's re-recording all the old songs now. And
look, we're not even going to talk about.
I don't really know but I think it would be great. I mean, I was a big Van Halen fan when
We
I,
all were. Everybody,
or
anybody who grew up in this era, look.
yeah. I mean, Dime was the biggest Van Halen fan. That's how I really got into it because to me, like where I come from, it was like I was one of those kids that would like when I was younger, if you'd be like, check out I'd be like, yeah, Van Halen, fucking whatever. Give me fucking Slayer or something. You know what I mean? Because I was younger. So, I mean, I wanted shit that was going to eat your face off. But then, like vegetables, I always thought the Beatles were the fucking dumbest shit I ever heard in my fucking life. And then, I got older and then I actually listened to it. And then you go, oh, fuck, I love this. The Beatles were like my cauliflower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I gotta wonder why. Then I gotta wonder, like, oh shit, man.
Look, I've been eating Brussels sprouts for the last 2 days. I'm probably gonna be farting like a beast.
Then I start going, oh shit. I'm starting. I like the Beatles. I like fucking, But it's true, But Van Halen, as a teenager for me, they were already into the they were so mainstream ish, you know what I mean? That was not my thing. That's what was interesting about playing with like Stephen Pearcy, because 90% of the bands that we play with, I don't like any of those fucking bands. You know what I mean? Where I came from, if you like those bands, you get punched in the face. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny, Jerry. You actually kind of remind me of a quote that I heard Gary Holt say one time. And Angel, we're going to kick it over to you and the fans right after this. I was watching some interview that Gary did on like a glam documentary, and he was like, "Man, we hated those bands. Like we were the dirty, like Motorhead guys, man.
Yeah.
We looked at like the glam guys as like these like Nancy boys. But the fact of the matter is, we went to their shows all the time because that's where all the chicks were."
Yeah, but it's like as you get older, you can you see past that shit. When you're younger and you just want to fucking kill everything. You go, oh man, okay, I get it. This guy's great. What was the band? We did a show, and it was like Striper, the Jesus band.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not my thing, not even kind of, but the guitar player,
Oz Fox.
What a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Great guitar player.
I gotta show you this.
Really super, just like, total dad vibe, nice guy. You're just like, dude, okay, nice dude, like.
Funniest thing about Oz. So, Michael Charvel,
I watched a documentary.
Yeah. So Wayne guitar.
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Let me make Bobby a little bit bigger.
Yes. Make me bigger. Tony loves me when I'm bigger.
Can't help you in that department, bro.
Don't you have any Viagra? Or elephant, whatever it is. So, funny thing, this is probably NAMM. What year was this? Oh, God. Oh, 2008, because Michael signed it. So Oz wanted this guitar, and I was like, he wanted it for, it was like, I think they were going out to do the To Hell with the Devil or whatever, and I'm going, fuck no, dude, I want that guitar. And we were like fighting over it. And I'm like sitting there going, but what a nice guy.
Well, he was a nice dude, like that was like the interesting thing for me doing that more than anything, because a lot those other guys, they're in that world, and they'd be like, oh yeah, da, da, da. And I'd be like, dude, I never even heard, like, I would say like half the bands, some of them I never even heard of, I mean, I remember hearing of the name, like, oh yeah, I know that,
well, they grew up. It was Rock's regime, and look,
it's all. But it's like, but you have to respect anybody who can still do what they do and does it well and still goes out and plays music. And I think that's super cool and admirable on any level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely an interesting interesting thing, but it was cool. It's on the resume. Check. Like
It's so funny how we threw this into Striper.
right.
Yeah.
It was just because I was just thinking of like I just remember the guitar player being a really nice guy.
He's great, and
then-
I give him kudos now with the brain surgery and everything. Oz is, tremendous guy.
And then there was the other guys. The other guys that I really really hit it off with and liked that I was the Dangerous Toys from Texas.
Yeah.
Those guys, but maybe it's just the tech, like my inner fucking, faux Texan or something because I'm, like so close with all the Texas boys. But I had a great time hanging out with the guitar player and
I just had the opportunity to shoot them with my Mark Weiss down in Monsters on the Mountain.
Yeah, those guys were really cool. So, interesting shit, like I forget what the question was.
Oh, it's all good, brother. We definitely covered it for sure.
Well.
But Angel, let's bring you in, brother. You've been more than patient, and the Metal
Yes, I
Summoners
have.
and Jerry's fans have been more than patient. So let's bring in yourself and the fans for a little bit of Q&A.
Definitely got a lot of fan questions to get to, and we got some crazy motherfuckers joining us by the name of DK Ravel and Jimmy from King of Valentina. So thank you guys for joining us. Hope the new record is coming along great. So let me get right to it. And I bet in some of these fan questions I've never seen anybody ask. So that's really cool. Can HellYeah continue with a new drummer?
Well, they already did at one point. They went out and did it with Roy, who's our boy. I mean,
Roy the boy.
Yeah, I love Roy. Me and Roy go way back to like the early '90s as well, when he was just moved to LA from New York City. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what. I mean, obviously, I talked to them, and we're close. But I think that I can't speak for them, but I think that they're kind of Chad's in Mudvayne world and enjoying it. And I think that the other guys all have kind of like their thing going on, and everybody's just I don't know. I mean, I hear the inner workings of things. I don't know if they're I don't know. Do I think that they could do it without him? They did. It already happened. You know what I mean? And I think that, in any of those situations, it's hard to probably get up on stage. I know that it's hard to get up on stage and when someone's like one of the like the heart and soul of something, to get up and do it and them not be there. It's just a constant reminder. But they did do it. Roy is fucking amazing, badass. He's out with Ministry. Fucking love Roy. So.
And here's a question I've never seen in any of our shows before, but it's from Susan from Toronto. She wants to know, what super group would you put together from all the great musicians who have passed on?
Oh, wow.
Damn.
I've never seen that question.
It would have to be like a fucking mass orchestra, man. I mean, that's so, from people that I've been around, played with, people that I like, admire. I mean, it's endless. Sadly, I mean, it's terrible to even think that has to be a question, But I mean, there's so many genres and subgenres. You know what I mean? Like I fuck.
Jerry's supergroup would be heavy as fuck, though.
Yeah, it could be anything. I mean, look, dude, I love everything. It's crazy. Like Peter Steele. Fuck, I was very close to Typo Negative. Peter, I was listening to Snot earlier, thinking about Lynn Strait. Like being like young kids and shit. So I don't really have an answer to that. It's because I know too many dead people.
That's unfortunate, but like you said earlier, that's part of living.
Yeah,
it is. And it's a trip because as you grow older and your friends start to disappear, you know, it's definitely something that like it's something that wears personally on your psyche, I think, because you know, like I'll think of things constantly all the time, and then I'll start going down like, you know, internal memories of like being with Peter or being with Dime or being with Lynn or being with Paul Gray, being with, you know, just it's endless. Vinny, like Matt, Duke, you know, you're like, man, they actually did it, meaning they're gone, you know, like it's such a crazy thing. You know, I never expected when, I mean, I never expected anything starting this journey, but I never had considered at the beginning of the journey, like how many people would be gone, you know, or like, you know, it's a trip, man, you know. That's all I gotta say about that.
What was your very first band that you were in?
The very first band that I was ever in was called Onyx, and I was 12 or 13, and I was with some like senior. I was at this party with a guy that I was friends with, and everybody at the party they were all like seniors graduating from high school, and I was in like the 7th grade, and I got drunk, and I'm hanging out with all these dudes, and it's the first time I ever seen like, you know, I mean, I had a guitar, but didn't really take to it yet. I actually stole my first guitar, but I didn't ever learn how to play it.
Wow, you're like Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, I fucking stole that I stole the first guitar I ever had. It was a BC Rich Warlock, and then my dad sold it for heroin. But I didn't end up having it. So, but then later on, you know, I ended up like screaming at the top of my lungs like Metallica songs while this guitar player guy was playing covers, and he was like, "Hey man, you're pretty good. You should come audition for the band." And I was like, "Okay," and I did, and then I got in the band, and I became the singer for this band of all the. I was like a little kid, and these kids were all older than me, and then they kind of all after a year they got jobs and did this, and I'm like, "Fuck these guys! I'm gonna write all my own music and do my own thing." Like 14 or 15, so I went, put money on layaway on some bass at a music store, and I would go get this shitty job, pay like $20, visit it for like 2 hours, and then come back the next week and pay another $20 until I got it. And then I was like, okay, now I got it. Now what? Well, I guess I just have to write songs. How? I don't know. So I just fucking wrote songs and just pretended, and then it worked, you know. But the very first band, I was 13 years old, and I was a singer, and that was my very first band. There's actually recordings of it. Then after that, I started playing bass and singing. So all the way up until, you know, I was like in Sacramento where I grew up, you know, then I was like, it got to a point to where I was like booking all the shows and fucking became like the young big fish in this little pond. You know what I mean? Like early on, I remember, you know, being like 7th grade, I went to this Elks Lodge, and I'm like, I want to rent this place. So I pay like $150, rent it, make all these little flyers, put on a show, and people came. And then I was like, oh fuck, I can do that. And then slowly started playing clubs, and before I know it, I was like opening up for all the Bay Area thrash bands at like 15, 16 and shit, you know.
So Jerry, what's your go-to bass? I mean, what is your
Ernie Ball Music Man only? That's it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, when I was younger, I kind of played everything, you know, and then I would say in '97 I got with Ernie Ball, and I've never played anything else ever. I've been with Ernie Ball since '97, '98, and I think I got 27 of them now. I love them. I have all but one. But yeah, that's my go-to. I over the years in different bands, I'd been offered deals with other companies where they like, we'll make you everything exactly how you want it, and they send it, and I'd be like, dude, I can like put my hand here and my hand on the back of the neck and barely put pressure, and the strings just go. I'd be like, this is firewood to me. You know, there's something about the music, man, the weight, the vibe, the tone, the growl, the balls, the low end, there's everything about that bass for me personally. It's a great bass to record with. It's a great bass live. It's reliable, stays in tune. I could throw it at somebody and pick it up and play it. You know?
Well, the reason I said that, because a lot of your looking and hearing your stuff, I hear two influences right there, and it's a Trip, and they're two of my favorite bass players. One is Gene Simmons, the other one is Mr. Tom Hamilton.
Gene Simmons was the entire and only reason why I ever played music. Like when I was a little kid, like when I was like 5, 6 years old, I saw this thing, Blood Demon, and I was just like,
gotta bring my wood out.
And my mom was kind of religious-esque at the time, and she was just like, there's no way. So I went straight, that's awesome. So I went straight to my grandma, and she bought me, my first record was Dynasty.
Nice.
Nice.
Which is like my least favorite record.
But it's the disco era. But I gotta say, your groove and everything you've done, and this has got to be the other guy. Come on, Jeans, sit in here. There we go.
You didn't pay
Tom.
But yeah, it was Gene Simmons is what made me want to play. Who taught me how to play? Basically, would have been Cliff Burton. Probably taught me how to play from listening to Metallica, and learning every single note on guitar and bass from Metallica is 100% how I learned how to play my instrument. And then probably from Metallica, I went to Motorhead and Black Sabbath, and then just down the well. But for me, at my age and time, it was all Metallica. You know, like that's everything that I learned. I never learned a Kiss song first. I just wanted to learn fucking Seek and Destroy and Metal Militia, everything off Kill 'Em All. You know.
And you think about the stuff that Cliff did too. I mean, just the way he played and attacked the shit out of the bass.
Yeah, and you learn later like where it came from, and then like a lot of that, a lot of it is it's like a hybrid of Geezer Butler and and then you hear all the influences of where he pulled from into metal, kind of like Randy Rhoads too, but Cliff Burton really pulled it from like Thin Lizzy. If it weren't for Thin Lizzy and the dueling guitar harmony solos and all the fucking the elements from the Thin Lizzy fifths and sevenths and harmonies, then you wouldn't have Metallica the way that you have Metallica. Because I mean, really, that's exactly where it came from.
But you think about it, Cliff was the guy who introduced the rest of the band to the Misfits too, which is so fucking badass right there.
Yeah, and I love the Misfits too. That was another thing that I got. It was weird when as a young teenager, it was my age. It was Metallica. It was Metallica, Exodus, Slayer, Celtic Frost, Venom. Even like old, like I would find just the weirdest shit I could find, even old like Destruction or, anything like that. But it was really Slayer, Venom, Metallica, in the early days. Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales is like still one of my favorite records. It's probably one of the heaviest records of all time to me,
It's the first wave of, British metal that was, really
yeah. And when I was a kid, I didn't know that. It was just, I would go to, when I was probably like, 12, 13 years old, we'd go to this grocery store chain. He had all these records on this, all these cassettes on the wall, and I would take a bag and then fill up the whole bag and go in the bathroom, break all the fucking things off, and walk out with like 80 cassettes, like steal everything in the fucking store, get home and be like, what's this? Whiplash. I remember I got Metallica Whiplash was like one of the first ones I ever got. And I was like, at the time, Metallica was like, when you heard that, nothing, you were hearing something that was the fastest thing. It was almost uncomprehendable, the level of what it was at that time. Like it was the fastest, craziest shit you ever heard. It may as well have been like, modern day, like the gnarliest grindcore you could hear right now. That's what Metallica sounded like then to normal people, But yeah, all that newer wave of stuff. So
I got to throw it back to Angel, but I got to ask one question. How the fuck did you wind up with HR?
Because my friend Marco Adaco, he's a good friend of mine in Hollywood. He books all these, like at the time in the early 90s, he was booking all these rock and Espanol bands, and then he booked punk bands. So he was like good friends with like, what's his name? Felix from DRI.
Yeah.
And Louis from Suicidal. So like a lot of the Venice punk rock guys, and I think because he lived right off Hollywood Boulevard, actually the funny thing is where I stayed right there, right? On Yucca and what street was it? I can't think.
Dude, I'm a skater, and I hang out with everybody that.
So Cherokee and Yucca, right where I lived at his house, and he would help out HR. So HR would crash there every once in a while, and so I would sleep on the floor. HR would sleep on the floor. But right across the way, who I used to see all the time, and people used to tell me who it was, and I would be like, I don't believe it, because I would see this guy walking down the street, like, and all of his hands were swollen. His feet were like, his ankles were like this big, like elephantitis foot, all like infected and crazy. It was Robin Crosby.
Oh wow!
And I used to see him all the time, like walking slowly up the street, and like he was so like
it was right when he got
he was like, I don't know if he was. I mean, he looked. Everybody would say he was homeless, but I didn't know at the time or whatever. But I remember seeing him many, many, many times when I'd like come out of my apartment, and I'd be like, not even like go around the guy. You know what I mean? Like spooky homeless dude you just like want to step around,
Well, I live in PA, and the same thing. Look, I'm a big Jocko fan, growing up. Jocko was from Norristown, and you know how he died too. Everybody thought he was the homeless guy, and he got killed,
And that's an interesting thing, even going back to HR is, HR, as long as I've known him, he's pretty much been homeless. He like sleeps in alleyways and in fucking doorways and shit, sweetest, nicest guy. But, I watched his documentary and I was like, whoa, he seems so together, because as long as I ever knew him, he was always very scattered, very, almost.
Well, I met with him. I did gigs with him with Chuck Treese, and we did McRad, and we did a couple things. We did the Do Tour and everything, and HR came in and sang, and again, sweet guy, another one. And look, you're from that area. What about you? What do you know about the U.S. bombs?
Oh yeah. The U.S. bombs.
My buddy, Dwayne Peters.
Yeah, Dwayne. Well, yeah, I know. I don't really know. I've only met him once or twice, but my very good friend Ace Von Johnson, he played with him. When Ace,
Jay's doppelganger.
Yeah, when Ace, because what year would it be? Like 2007, 2008. I met Ace, and he was playing in a punk band, and I kind of took him under my wing. You know what I mean? I took him to the Rainbow the first time, introduced him to like all the people, you know, to like Tammy and all that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like one of my, he's like my little brother. I love him. But he played with Dwayne. I didn't really know him. I was really close for a few years with Corey Parks, and they had Clash, right?
Yep.
And I talked, you know, every great once in a while, Corey will say like, "Hey, I love you. How are you?" or whatever. But that was as far as I know of him. But I seen like the struggle of all that stuff. But I do like the U.S. Bombs. I love I love the cover he did, the Frank Sinatra cover.
Oh, of course. So I got to ask, do you skate? You know,
No, I was never. It's funny because like from the second I saw fucking Gene Simmons covered in blood and fire, the only thing I ever wanted was another Kiss record, and the only other thing I ever wanted was just to be in a band. But I always knew that was the only fucking thing I was gonna do. And it's kind of like people ask me, you know, they're like, "Well, how do you blah blah blah?" You know, it's you know, how do you make it, or how do you do? And I'm like, dude, it ain't even like that. It's just something. It's something that's unexplainable. It's something that is embedded in you. It's something that is like comes through you. That's a part of you. It isn't like I ever had a real choice. It's just the only thing I was ever gonna do. You know, and
it's almost like you get possessed. I totally understand.
It's just like it's like if you have a kid or a dog and it was lost, you would tirelessly forever go to the end of the world to find them or do whatever it is you have to do for them at any cost, no matter what. That's how it is for me with music. And it isn't like I put a thought into it. It's just me and Danko Jones were talking about this a while back. You know, it's like it's something you can't ever put your finger on it. It's something that's embedded. The closest thing I can ever say to it is it's almost like, have you ever seen the Indiana Jones movie where he has like the leap of faith?
Yeah.
And like he no one will take the step, and then he realizes that he throws the pebbles at like it looks like certain death, but there's actually like a walkway, just everybody's too afraid to do it. And then he just fucking throws the sand across it, and he sees the walkway, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" And he just walks across. It's kind of like that, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like this fucking dumb leap of faith, just knowing. But I was gonna do it regardless, you know, like.
It's like the four of us. Look, we've been doing this show now. What, Angel? What is this? 144 tonight?
Yep, 144.
144.
Wow.
We didn't know what the fuck we were doing when we did this. And we've been doing it for 144 consecutive episodes. We all love music. We're all, and it's just that thing. Every Wednesday, the four of us, you know, just we get it. You know,
Yeah,
it's that thing. You know, it's like, how do you explain it? You know, I'm going, I don't know, man. I just fucking love being around this music, these four guys. You know, I get psyched every week to do the fucking show.
Yeah, that's how it is, you know. And it's like I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've been very blessed and lucky to play with so many, like, you know, iconic, legendary people, you know, like I don't really look back much. I'm always kind of like, you know, from the Deadlights, we were fucking touring with Typo and Pantera and doing the whole thing. For some guys that I was in a band with back then, that's a highlight of their whole life, you know?
Well,
But
even like I said, brought up Nothing Face. I mean, you know, stuff like that. I mean, you know, people go, I love that people now listening are going to go, who is Nothing Face? Let me go.
Yeah.
Who are the Deadlights? You know, people are going to go backwards, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Dude, the Deadlights were my shit, man. I fucking loved that band.
Really?
Yeah, I really did, dude.
Wow. Yeah, man, the Deadlights, that's another really special thing to me because it was the first, it was the first time. And the funny thing was is that with the Deadlights, I never even wanted to play with them.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah. So the thing is that I was finished playing with Blasco, and then I went to Pygmy Love Circus, and then from Pygmy Love Circus guys, 57 Crown was the name of the band with Joey Gold. I was kind of like, no label was signing us, but we were packing in the clubs. So System would come and open for us. Fucking all these bands they all wanted to play with us. Spine Chick, they would all be the opening band whenever we'd play, but we would pack in 300-400 people every show in a club. But, and Roadrunner was signing everybody, and Kevin Estrada. Everybody wanted to help us, but for some reason, no one was going to ever sign us. It just never happened. We were like the underdog. It was just never going to happen. And I was pretty burnt on that whole fucking thing. And I was living with Brett Bradshaw, the drummer from Faster Pussycat. And I got the call. Chavo from System of a Down called and said, listen, they were called Suction before. He's like, Suction's looking for a bass player. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to go to Orange County and play in a fucking Orange County band. Fuck that. I'm only playing in a Hollywood band. And he was like, no, you really should. And I was like, no. So Chavo talked me into doing it. I went down there, and I already knew Duke, and I liked him. He just looked like a rock star the whole time. From the second I saw that guy, he looked like a fucking rock star motherfucker, And they had just gotten signed by Tom Zutaut, and he basically was losing his label, but Tom Zutaut was known for
everybody.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses and shit. But Zutaut loved the band, and he was like, look, the record's never going to come out, but I'll sign you anyway, and you can get all the money from the label in the advance and go buy gear and just move forward with the band. So he signed the band for like a couple $100,000 and just was like, do whatever you got to do. And so I joined the band, and we wrote the songs, and it just kind of like, it just vibed, Duke had an interesting voice. I remember when we got signed, it was craziest thing. Like, we did all that shit with John Levin or whatever. Then next thing you know, they're like, hey, you guys got to do a showcase Wednesday at 3. Okay, whatever. So we go down and we set up our gear in this place. He's like, invite a couple of friends if you want, so it's not empty. And we're like, whatever. So we do it. And this fucking row of limos pull up, like town cars, like 8 of them. And all these fucking suits get out. And it's Sylvia Rohn, the president of Elektra, and all the staff. And they were in town for like the Grammys, right? So all these people we don't fucking know come in, and we're standing there like, okay. And they're like, okay, play. And they're just sitting there staring. So we play, like, start playing the song. And then she raises her hand. And she's like, stop. And then I remember I looked over at Duke. I was like, you motherfucker, you fucked it up. Fucking motherfucker. And then they like start talking. And then she was like, who did Tool's record? And this guy goes, Ron St. Germain, or whatever his name is, right? I met him later in life. He's like, yeah, but he's doing 311 right now. He's like, okay, who else did Tool? And he's like, Sylvia Massey. He's like, okay, get Sylvia Massey on the phone. Nice to meet you guys. I'll see you next week in New York City. Bye. And then everybody got up without saying, we don't even know these people. And then they left, and we're just kind of standing there like, and then Levin and them walk him out, and he like comes in, he's like, congratulations, you just got signed to Elektra Records. And we're like, what? And then I just got back in my shitty little car, drove home, like, but dude, like fucking 2 weeks later, I'm at fucking Rockefeller Plaza, walk in the building, right? And who's at the front lobby destroying everything, going crazy? Old Dirty Bastard.
Oh,
ODB.
The like famous story. And we went in there, fucking signed all the shit, and did all that. It was like a whole mind-altering situation. But that's why it's always like very the Deadlights is very dear to me. Duke and I, we did it. we had a lot of fun. It was crazy. Sometimes we love each other. Sometimes we hate each other. We were on another level, but he was my brother. And I fucking think about him all the time. I actually have his ashes in my house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, one thing. So you brought up John Levin. You know, I've met him a lot of times through, you know, docking gigs and a couple other things. And now you bring it up. I didn't know the whole political end. I knew he was a lawyer and this and that. But what I'm hearing through a lot of this seems like a similarity of who's the guy who does the Dead Daisies?
Oh, Dave Lowry.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of what I hear about Lowry. Is he like, okay, I play guitar, but I'm doing this. Is it a hobby? Is it?
He didn't play guitar then, or he was a guitar. He was a full when I knew him.
Lawyer, and
he would. Yeah, he didn't. He would say, "Yeah, I play guitar. I used to play in Duro Pesh or Warlock in the '80s or something." And I'd be like, "Okay, whatever. I don't care. Okay, cool, dude." But he was a lawyer.
Well, Duro's kind of hot.
It was him and this other guy named John something. I forget the other guy's name, but they were like some guy that worked with this guy named, like, I want to say Happy Walters or Happy, some weird fucking name.
Happy Gilmore?
No. I don't, yeah. But it was a lesson, you know. I mean, you know, I'm sure he would say he didn't fuck us, but he fucked us, and you know,
he's a lawyer. Duh.
Well, he was supposed, but the thing was is that he was playing our lawyer and our fucking record company and our production company, but we were too dumb. You know, we were kids, but we got to where we needed to go, and everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to. You know what I mean? Like we went through it, we learned it, we did it, and I wouldn't, you know, would I change anything? Probably not, because it was the greatest time of my life. You know what I mean? Like, I look back, you know, shit pops up on your Facebook. Somebody the other day, my good friend Larry Malero, he was a guitar tech for Static and for us, and he worked for Cheap Trick and stuff. He passed away a few years ago, but he was on those first tours with us in the early on. You know, I think, like, you know, the crazy shit. But the Deadlights, I'll always love the Deadlights. You know, I miss it. We wanted to do another record before he passed away. We talked about it, and we still always stayed in contact, him and I, but he was struggling really hard, man. And it was one of those things to where you know, you want to save somebody, but you can't, you know. And the only thing I could do in that situation was sometimes when you're, you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic for almost for 9 years.
Wow.
But
congrats.
Thanks. But you know, he
Quitter.
wasn't never a person who did drugs. He didn't do drugs. He didn't drink. He wouldn't even eat food. He had abs, you know. He's like, all he would do is live off a Metrics bar and smoke weed, you know. He was like, he wouldn't drink a drop.
A Metrics bar and weed. I'd want cornflakes or anything.
I know. And Duke was that kind of dude, you know, and he was a funny guy. He was a stoner. He was very self-conscious about how he looked and his writing and his abilities. And then, like, kind of almost like in the same strange thing that happened with Wayne Static. You know, I knew Wayne for 20 years, and he was never a drug guy or anything. And then all of a sudden, these guys that I knew later in life took on drug habits in their late 40s or 40s and 50s, and then died. And you're like, what? Wait, you know, like, how the fuck did that happen? So with Duke, it was kind of like that. I was utterly shocked that he was, you know, using heroin and shit. I never expected that. And then it was just more of a Joey Gold from Love Hate, because Joey was like our dad. You know, he was our manager for the Deadlights, but he was like, he's still family. So he would always look out for Duke, look out for me, check on us, still does to this day. And it was just one of those things like, fuck, man, you know, I wanted to like go, what the fuck are you doing? You know, but everybody was doing that and it wasn't change. It's not going to change him. So the best I could do is almost downplay the addiction part so that he'll always pick up the phone when I call him. Because everybody else, he would feel so like he would hide from them. So then no one would hear from him. So I'd have to like, you know, play double agent, you know, to be able to get to find out if he was okay or what he was doing. It was fucked up, man. I did his whole funeral. I fucking picked out his clothes. I took care of him all the way to the end. I love his mother. I'm proud of what we did. It's sad the way it turned out, but he was fucking genius and he was great. And hearing that there's somebody else that says, you know, hey, the Deadlights was my shit. I love that. That means more to me than almost anything that I ever did, because I know how much it meant to him. And
awesome.
Because I know that somewhere he knows like there's someone that just said that or really feels that way about something he did. That means everything to me. Like that's just fucking cool as fuck, you know?
Oh, that's awesome. Nah, dude, I truly did like love that band. And I mean like when you and I, you know, I kept in touch since M3 and stuff, and you've always been such a stand-up dude, and I got nothing but the utmost respect with, because you just keep landing in all these projects that like I'm into, like Ties with Typo Negative Camp, playing with Danzig and stuff like that. But yeah, dude, the Deadlights was my shit, dude. I thought that band was so cool, because I also all the way down to like the logo, the simplicity of it, but it was noticeable, like it was recognizable. Like sometimes the simplest things are just, they stand out because there's not extra bells and whistles. Because I always love to make fun of certain black metal logos because they just look like a pile of sticks.
Right.
Yeah.
But like
I'll tell you, the thing that was really fun about that band was making the album with Sylvia Massey. She was so much fun to work with. I mean, back then it was different because, you know, we would go into NRG and fucking Sound City and be like there for 4 weeks at each studio, retarded $5,000 a day. Just, you know, hey, I remember I'd pick up the phone and call the front desk and be like, hi, runner. Yeah. Can you go get a keg of Budweiser, fucking 7 bottles of this and that, and then hang up the phone, and they'd be tracking, and I just call everybody and be like, come over to studio Sound City. We're having a party. And it would just be like raging party. Cause I wouldn't have to do bass for like a week. So, but like there's a song called Falling Down, which is the last song on the Deadlights album. That song was recorded in the big room at Sound City, which is said to be haunted, which is actually kind of cool because I think that it is, and the back rooms and on that Neve board. And we fucking no lights in the whole place, only completely candlelit. At midnight, we started recording the song in that fucking room. And I'll never forget it. All the, you know, and we did most of it live, all the acoustics. So I'm playing a 12-string acoustic guitar, Duke's playing acoustic, and Billy. And then we had this guy, Alok, who played on all the Tool records. He plays the tabla.
Yeah.
And he's playing all the fucking tabla on it and shit. It was such a cool vibe. You know what I mean? I remember being on that couch, laying on the couch, and her going, like, that where you're laying, the exact way that you're laying, that's exactly where Kurt Cobain wrote and recorded Something in the Way, on the same couch, and that same laying on that couch in front of the console. But it was the whole thing making that record. When we started at NRG Studios, not to go on forever, but we started at NRG Studios, and I remember I just got my first Ampeg endorsement. Ampeg just sent me all these bass rigs, and Ernie Ball had just sent me my first bass, and I had it all set up in the tracking room. And a lot of times, Jay Baumgartner, who owns NRG, would be like, hey, can, you know, so-and-so is going to stop by today, this producer, that producer, to show the room to whoever's next. You know what I mean? Like Stone Temple Pilots came in one day, you know, when they were doing the Star record or whatever. And, you know, be like, oh, hey, nice to meet you, whatever. And they would just kind of, you know, this is the room, blah, blah, blah. for whoever's going to rent it next. And so I was in the room, and she was like, another band stopping in today, whatever. So I'm fucking sitting there, and fucking the guys from Slipknot come in. Now, I don't know these guys. They're just some dudes. And Paul Gray comes walking in. They're in the control room. He comes in, and he's like, dude, that bass is awesome. I'm like, I just got it. So we're like two like little kids, and I'm like, yeah, they just gave it to me for free. And he's like, oh my God, dude, we're getting ready to do our first record. We're so excited. I'm like, we're doing ours too. I got Ampeg too. And he's like, so we just like this. The second we met, we're like two little kids on a playground. We were like this. So we exchanged numbers. I remember it was Paul, Joey, and the clown came in. Sean. And then he was like, dude, you got to check out my band, dude. We wear all these crazy masks and shit. And back then, getting on the internet, it was like, I was like, yep. I remember I went and looked at their shit, and I was like, this is some wacky, crazy shit, whatever. But him and I stayed friends. And we would call each other once a week all the time and hang out. So before we ever toured, the reason why we played Birch Hill with Slipknot was because of that friendship that when we met when we were making our records, just totally random. And it ended up being a friendship that lasted his whole life. When they were making the subliminal verses and all that, or they were at the Houdini mansion, I would be up there sleeping on the floor. He got a little cot in his bedroom so I could like crash out in there, and we would just hang out and party and, all that shit. And later on, like when he was going through a hard time, I would like go get him from the rehab, or we go have lunch, and, we stayed friends forever and ever. As you saw on my Instagram, whatever, while I was just in Des Moines, I always go and visit Paul when I'm there, but it's all these crazy places. But Sound City was one of those things. Like, when I worked there, it was just a hunk of shit fucking place. It was cool that fucking Rumors was done there, but we didn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It was like, yeah, Rumors was done here. That's cool. But, it still smells like piss, Yeah,
seriously.
But funny thing, I remember I was laying on the couch in the lounge, and I was watching this movie called Basketball, right? Some stupid comedy.
Oh,
and
South Park guys.
Yeah, and I'm watching it, and I turn over, I'm laughing, and this guy goes, well, he was like, "Did you actually like this shit?" And I turned over, and it was the Trey guy from fucking South Park.
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Hey," and he was like, and they were in the next room recording the music for the Sound Park movie.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So they happened to just be there, which was kind of funny. But
that's so funny for sure.
all the crazy random shit like that would happen, I forget half of it, and then sometimes it'll come back. Anyway,
absolutely 100%. Well, Angel, let's kick it back to you, dude, because we kind of stomped on you, man. So we're sorry about that. But
sorry, Angel. I'm like,
oh, that's cool.
No, it's all good. We love story time, but we appreciate our metal summoners too, and we want to give the floor back to them.
Yeah, so the fan question is, if you could sit down with 3 of your musical influences, who would it be?
Somebody that I haven't sat down with probably be
Lemmy.
Jimmy Page, because I've never met him. Lemmy, I was close. I knew Lemmy since I was a teenager. I've sat down with him. I've had him in my car. I've had him in my house.
Nice.
I would say Jimmy Page. I would say somebody I could sit down. I would love to sit down with Roger Waters, and ask him like, what the fuck? Because to me, he's like one of my favorite. He's another bass player that I really loved, because I love old Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd would like just fucking blow my mind when I was a kid, and they played bass and sang, and a singer songwriter.
Jerry, real quick, interrupt you. So you live in California, bass player, great guy, has been on the show with us, Doug Pinnick.
Oh, I know Doug. I love him. I've known I first met Doug. Actually, I met him while in Texas because he was
I've
friends.
known Doug since '83.
Oh, see, I met him in like 98 or 99 with Dime. So I didn't know, I knew I liked King's X when I was a kid. I saw their video and was like, oh, this band's cool. And then I was staying with Dime, and then Doug came over and he's like, hey man, it's Doug Pinnick. And I'd be like, all right, nice to meet you. And he's like, oh, Doug. And I was like, oh shit, Super Shine, fucking, you know, that, I don't know. I always ask him about that record because he did the record with the guitar player from Trouble. And that fucking record is bad as fuck. But yeah, I see Doug here and there. He's always a sweetheart. I wish I was a guitar player so I could play
next week.
Next week, yes.
You are?
Yeah.
I'll be in LA. I'm there for Kiss Cruise Fest, and I'm out with Kiss for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, I got asked to play on that, but I had something else I had to do.
All right, but we'll connect after this. Let's.
Yeah,
we're doing an event. Yeah, and I got Dougie coming out doing something.
Oh yeah, well I do Jessica and Ira are good friends of mine, and she's really close with him, and I've done like the Ultimate Jam Night like 5 billion times, but I've known Doug forever. He's, like I said, he's always
what a sweetheart. I mean,
yes.
He loves us, loves everybody. Sorry to interrupt, but you know that was. I kept thinking, oh my God, wait a second, bass player, live in LA. You got
I totally know him, and I fucking love the guy, and he's one of the best people.
Hell yeah!
I had the strange thing. I picked him up. We went to Perkins. Never pick up Doug and go to Perkins Pancake House. No, Denny's.
Oh, the food place.
Oh my God. That was a 4-hour experience with Pinnick.
He's awesome.
Hell yeah, for sure. Angel, right back to you, buddy.
Your favorite show that you've played?
Or favorite show I've ever played? Probably my favorite show I've ever played would be, I would say, New Year's Eve Gasoline cover band with Diamond Vinny at the Clubhouse.
Holy shit!
Nice.
You know what I mean? I mean, I played thousands of shows with all my favorite people, Maiden, Kiss, Metallica, everybody. But the favorite show would be that show.
Nice.
And next question is, what do you think of the new punk museum that's opening in Vegas?
I read a little bit about it. I believe that isn't it Fat Mike has got something to do with it, right? I love NoFX. I love all their fucking records. He's fucking badass. I love his podcast shows. He cracks me up. I was never really close with him. I was always very, very, very close with Eric Santa and Eric Melvin. Melvin's like my guy. As far as the punk museum, I don't know enough about it to have. I don't know if there's any weird controversy or anything. I think that it's cool that they would do something like that. You know, I would go check it out. I love punk rock. I fucking love punk rock.
Yes.
What do you like the most about being a musician?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's not really something that's like saying, what's your favorite thing about being a human being? Like breathing, like, I don't know. I mean, I, as far as being a musician, my favorite part of it is it changes because I love the creative part. I love to create. I love to write. I love the idea that you can, like, I can sit here in my studio and make something completely out of thin air that's nothing that the world will hear or enjoy, and it did not exist, and it was just it was nothing. It was
and
air.
It's yours. It's yours.
Well, it becomes whatever, but I love that part, and then when I'm in the creative part, I'm like dreading the touring part, like, oh fuck, now we gotta get back into shape and get ready to go out and do that part. But then when you get into that part, then you're in fucking animal beast mode. Then you're just like, fuck yeah. And then you're like, then you're stressed on the creating part, because then you're like, oh fuck, I got to go create again. Do you think I can? What if nothing comes? You know what I mean? So it's funny because it's like this, you know, I love everything about it. It's just who I am and what I do. You know, I'm blessed to be able to do what I love, to be around cool people, make a little bit of money doing it. I love all of it.
Oh yeah.
And Susan from Toronto, she wants to know what was your first concert, and did you like playing in Toronto?
Love playing in Toronto. It's been a little while. Canada's cool to play. It's fun. It's different because people can be wild. You know, in the 90s, 2000s and on, you know, the drinking age here is 21. There is 18. So people are fucking raging. You know, so it was always more fun when I drank then. And then what was the other question?
What was your first concert?
Oh, my first concert was Kiss.
Yeah.
And Kiss and Wasp. So it was, I think it was either I know it was Wasp.
Asylum.
It was the Last Command. They had the heads on the stake things.
Yeah.
And I think it was Kiss and Wasp. And then the second concert I ever saw was Wasp and Slayer, of all weird things. It was inside the Electric Circus, I think, and Slayer, Rain and Blood.
Damn.
I think Slayer I know it was Slayer opening up for Wasp. I want to say it was Slayer, Wasp, and Raven or something. But the first was definitely Kiss. The second was either Wasp and Slayer that I remember. Yeah. But I know my very first, I still have the ticket from my very first concert of Kiss and Wasp.
Nice.
I was a huge Wasp fan when I was a kid.
And they're back on the road right now. Blackie's out on the road.
Yeah. Man, they're like, Mike Duda is one of my very, very good friends, like forever. Me, there's like a little group of us that are super close, you know. Me, Duda, Johnny Kelly, Alex Grossi. We're like the four of us together. We would always get together and be like Doom Crew. Yeah.
I love Alex. That's my homie.
I fucking love those dudes, man. Like Alex, Johnny, Duda, those are my boys, man.
And the other question is, who inspired you, and how many guitars do you have?
I have a lot of guitars. I don't know. I would say I'm getting close to like 30. I think I have 27 Music Mans. So I have from all the different eras, the Danzig eras, the Nothing Face, the Deadlights, you know, all of the HellYeah, all of the different eras. And then guitars, I have a pretty decent, I probably have like 25 guitars. I have a couple of my prize possession guitars are my fucking my custom shop 137s. I have a cherry red one and a honey burst one that I love. ES 137 Gibson Customs, and then the rest are all just like random. I have a couple of Gibson Studios that are just here. The one that I write with the most is actually a Schecter. It's like a gold top. I'm not a Schecter fan, but I have a shit ton of them. But this gold top, I don't know why. There's just a lot of songs in it for some reason. Whenever I pick it up, I just fucking constantly write shit. So I've been on that one, and I got a couple of J200s. Got a couple of Epiphones. I got probably about 10. No, probably. I think I got like seven strings, 7 or 8 of those. I don't use them anymore. So I have a lot of guitars, but they're all stacked up in cases.
Yeah.
Oh, not me, man. Mine are out. I got 160 in here.
Right. I would love that. And like I have my main like 8 basses that I keep out. And so usually it's just like if I'm going on tour, I'll be like, okay, I'm taking the red sparkle, I'm taking the silver sparkle, I'm taking the Stormtrooper white one, I'm taking, But
So
yeah.
you talked about Randy, yeah, and I got to give a big nod to the guys at Gibson. So they did. Oops,
What did you just drop?
Jesus dropped. So Gibson did this for me. So
It's nice.
it's a 74. It's basically a Randy. My buddy Adam at FU-Tone did my Floyd for it, and so it was a tribute to my. It's a little bit of Randy, a little bit of Ed, and a lot of my mom.
I love it. It's a nice guitar.
So it's a 74. Look, who doesn't love Randy?
No, I wish that documentary would have been better. I wish more people would have been involved in it. I wanted it to be so great.
Really, Jerry? Well, talk a little bit about that because I haven't seen it yet, but I've been hearing all these rave reviews, and now it sounds like it was a little thin.
It's not that it's like it's the best for me personally. The best documentary of the year for me, and I'm huge into documentaries.
Yeah,
was the Phil Lynott documentary. That was by far my favorite. Like I've probably watched that 8 times. It's just visually striking. It's beautiful. The whole thing, the way they did it was amazing. I fucking love the Phil Lynott documentary. I really enjoyed the Charvel documentary. I don't know if that's old. I watched that recently. I love those. It's on the Fire Stick. It's good. Charvel. Probably my top favorites are It Might Get Loud. Obviously, that one is one of my favorites. Muscle Shoals is probably one of the best of all time to me, and the Phil Lynott one. But the Randy Rhoads one, I really liked it a lot. I just felt like it was very limited in what they could do. I don't know Randy. You know what I mean? I just wish that they would have been able to. I wish that there was like an Osborne connection to where it would have opened up more, because it's more of the old Quiet Riot days, which I really did like. The other, I like the Quiet Riot documentary too.
Yeah, that I thought that was great.
Anyway, Angel.
Where did you live in Orange County?
I didn't live in Orange County. Duke did. They lived in Fountain Valley. I lived in Hollywood the whole time, and I had to fucking drive down there every other day.
A question for Michael. What would you consider your fantasy gig?
The Cat House.
Gig as in playing a show, or gig playing with an artist? If it was playing with an artist, my fantasy gig already happened. It was like when we did the Misfits with Doyle. That was my dream gig, Other than that, I would probably say like my fantasy, if it could be anything in the world, fuck, it'd be like playing with like fucking, I would say Metallica, but I auditioned for Metallica, so I got to do it. I would say Black Sabbath.
Nice.
Cool.
But I could never fill the shoes of Geezer fucking Butler. But if Geezer Butler had COVID and they were like, we have nobody else to play the show, and I just happen to be standing there and I know every fucking song by heart, that would be probably my dream gig.
Were you in some kind of monster documentary, or is that the auditioning that you're referring?
Yeah, I did that, but I don't know. I'm not in the documentary. I also auditioned for Disturbed too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I actually waited on Drayman like 2 weeks ago. They stayed at the hotel I work for, and David came in for lunch.
He's one of my very, very, very dear close friends.
Nice.
And every time if he's here in town, we have dinner, we have lunch, we hang out, and he's just one of the best dudes. I'm sure, if you waited on him,
He was really nice. He was so cordial. Like
super nice.
I just let him do his thing, and then at the end, you know, when I was bringing him back his payment and stuff like that, I just was like, "Hey, man, I didn't want to say anything out loud on the floor, obviously, but thanks for everything, bro, and travel safely, man." And he was just really cool, shook my hand, and I let him go about his business.
Yeah, he's been there for me a lot over the years in the business as a friend. You know, he's one of those dudes that it's like family fucking friend. If I text him right now, he'll text me right back. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, how are you? Whatever. But he's also helped out Nothing Face a lot when we needed shows. Disturbed would come through and throw us on stuff. Anything, you know, anytime I've had a new project, you know, he's the first one I send all my music to. That he usually hears everything I do first. You know, always send it right off to him. Like, okay, what do you think? Or we've worked together on stuff. He's cool.
That's awesome. We're going to kick it back to Angel, but also fans at that same time. Jerry's been more than cordial hanging out with us tonight. So I actually am going to say, guys, last call for alcohol fans. It's going to be your last opportunities to add in any questions that you want Jerry to answer, because we do have to put a cap on things. So we're going to let Angel continue for a little longer. Bobby and I will throw one more thing over at Jerry, and we'll let him go about the rest of his evening. So last call for alcohol fans. Go ahead, Angel.
Yeah, that's pretty much like just down to last question. So,
okay, cool.
If you were in a hot tub time machine, where are you going?
Oh, that's a good one. If I was in a hot tub time machine, where am I going? I would probably go to the future, man. see what the fuck crazy gig I'm doing next is. Like, nice. I want to, you know, I'm like, I already know what happened. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff that I would love to go back and revisit and do again. I would go do Ozfest again at 24, 25 for sure. But I would love to see where the fuck I'm going next. You know, like, it's just you never fucking know. You know, it's like there's always some new thing, or you know, whatever's on the horizon next. I don't even know half the time.
Have you pop out of the hot tub time machine to see yourself playing with Avril Lavigne?
Right. Hey, I would probably have the house to go with the fucking salary. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I would be back in a situation where I'd be like, I don't know what any of these fucking bands are.
For sure. Go ahead, Angel.
Right back to you, so we can.
Yeah, we're clear.
Like
no
I
worries.
said,
It's all good. For sure. So, Jerry, I wanted to touch base on one thing kind of cool, because we didn't really touch too much on them. But, of course, you did have a 10-year in HellYeah right at the beginning. Am I right in assuming that also came about due to you and Tom's relationship from Nothing Face?
Yeah. HellYeah. See, HellYeah started like probably 3.5 years before Vinny was in it. So we were on tour with Disturbed and Mudvayne, and at the time it was funny because since me, Tom, and Chad were the drinkers, right? And then in our bands, and then our singer Matt wasn't a drinker. He was always like pills or drugs or whatever, weed, drugs, pills. So we didn't hang out with Matt. It was always me, Tom, and Sickles together getting drunk. And then in Mudvayne, those guys were all pretty mellow, you know, except for Chad was raging, partying all the time. So he was always with us. So like the three of us were always together, fucking wasted, fucking trading punches in the face, literally at nighttime in the bus. Like, all right. Like, we'd just do shots, and then Chad punched me as hard as he could in the face, and I'd punch him in the face. We'd like Fight Club our fucking crazy, just dumb shit.
You're recreating your own versions of vulgar display of power.
Totally. And we were just always having fun and stupid. And his band didn't like that he was drunk with us, because they were trying to keep him together because they were huge at the time, you know? Right. And we were in New Orleans on Bourbon Street, hammered out of our minds. And I remember Chad was on the phone and he fell forward and hit his face on the ground. And we were all laughing so hard. And then I said, you know what? We should just start our own fucking band. Then no one could tell us what we can do. I'm like, I remember I said, if Phil Anselmo could start his own band so he could just do as much drugs as he wants, we should start our own band so we can get as drunk as we want. Then your band can't drag you away and no one could tell any of us what to do. And we were like, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're starting our own fucking band. So it started out as a joke, you know, and I remember I said, we'll call it Multiple Stab Wounds. So that was the original name, was Multiple Stab Wounds. And we were like, it's just going to be the heaviest shit you ever heard in your life, you know, just full on. So for about a year and a half, we would joke around, multiple stab wounds, man. We're going to do this. We're going to do it. And then Tom came up with the name Cold White Christ. So then it was like, all right, it's going to be called Cold White Christ. So we're like, all right.
That sounds like White Claw or something.
Right.
I'm going to get a Cold White Christ. You know?
Right, Cold White
It'd be
Christ.
like a bubbly white wine spritzer or something.
That's what I said. So we ended up all finally between my Danzig schedule and Mudvayne and Nothing Face and all of our schedules, we all flew to Maryland and recorded Waging War, which is on the first record, but that song was recorded originally without Vinny. So we did that out there, and then I was constantly trying to get the band together, but I was always on tour. Chad was always on tour, and then we'd be like, okay, we're going to do it. And then he'd be like, oh, I have to go make a new Mudvayne record. And then we'd be like, fuck. Now we have to wait like 2 years for you to get off tour, you know? So it just kept going on. And then finally we did the recording, and then we needed a drummer. So it was originally it was a drummer from Nothing Face. Then Chad was like, if it's that, then it's just Nothing Face with me singing. So we have to have a different drummer. So he wanted it to be Morgan Rose, who we're all friends with.
Yeah, so
Morgan wanted to do it, and then we were all gung-ho. We're going to fly to Atlanta and record. And then I remember Morgan was like, okay, well, the studio costs this much, and we're going to need this and this. And we're like, cost what? We don't have shit. We're just going to do it. And so, you know, and then his schedule, he was always on tour. So it kind of started falling apart again, and I was pissed. And then I just called up Vinny, and I was like, listen, I have a singer who's got a Grammy nomination. Fucking me and Tom, who you know, this could be huge. Like, this could be it. Like, this takes no effort. And originally, the original guitar player for HellYeah that I had for the band that said yes and was going to do it was Tim Mahoney from 311.
Oh, wow.
I'm really good friends with Tim Mahoney from 311. So, and he's such a metal fan. I was like, how cool would it be? Chad from Mudvayne, me from Danzig, and Nothing Face and Tom, and the guitar player from fucking 311. You know what I mean? And fucking Vinnie Paul. Like, what a crazy mixture. Think about how many people we could get to, you know? And so that's what it was going to be originally. And then Chad called and said, look, we have to have Greg be the guitar player because then it'll be easier for me to break away from Mudvayne, because then I can talk him into doing it, and then we can put Mudvayne on ice and then do this. And so we're like, okay, that's it, you know? So I told Tim, I'm like, oh, man, we're going to use the guitar player from Mudvayne. He's like, that's cool, bro, you know? And then that was it, man. I asked Vinny, he said no. Yeah, I called him. I'm like, listen, do you want to do this? And he's like, no, absolutely not. And I was like, man, you know, this could be cool. And he was like, I won't ever play without my brother. You know, and I was like, I can't say anything to that, you know, because after Dime died and Vinny was just at home, I used to still call Vinny and check on him. And if I was in town, I would go have lunch with him. And, you know, he actually took me to his Dime's gravesite the first time he ever went back since we buried Dime. He didn't get out of his car. He wouldn't go up to it, but he took me there, you know? So then you know, I asked him again and he said no. And then one night, all of a sudden at like 4:30 in the morning, I got a phone call and I look and it says Vinnie Paul. And I'm like, yo. And he's like, Montano. I'm like, what's up? He's like, hey, I thought about that shit you were talking about. Fuck it. Tell those boys come down to Texas. Let's do this, motherfucker. And I was like, what? So then I called the other guys. I'm like, hey, we got to do this. And they're like, well, we need a drummer. I'm like, I have a drummer. And they're like, who? And I'm like, trust me, I got a drummer. And I remember Chad was like, who? And I said, Vinnie Paul. And the phone was quiet. And he was like, what? And I go, no, really? He's like, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. He's the drummer. And then it just kind of all came together.
Nice. And how did the name pop up?
The name, I remember this Crank guitar amps sent out all these cabinets to us. They wanted us to play their shit. And they were all still left in boxes, like outside. Because we were like, we're not playing those. But they just sat in boxes outside. And Coors Light sent us like this huge pallet, a full pallet of beer, right? Because Chad knew somebody at Coors Light. So this big truck pulls up, fucking drops off this pallet, like 4.5 feet tall, you know? And we would fucking drink all day, all night. And then on top of next to the pallet of beer was the pallet of cabinets. And we would just write on the cardboard all the names that we had. This band, that band, that band. And I remember Vinny's band name he wanted to name it Severe Clear because he likes vodka. And I'm like, Severe Clear? What the fuck? Clear? No. And we just kept trying to think of names. And then everywhere we went to buy alcohol or go to the titty bar or anywhere we went, everybody would be like, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'd be like, nice to meet you. Hell yeah. Hey, man, thanks. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And I was like, what? And then I don't know who it was, but one of us was like, we should just name it Hell Yeah. And then we all started laughing. We're like, that's the cheesiest, dumbest name of all time. We would get crucified. And then we wrote it down. And then everywhere we went, everybody kept saying it. And then I was like, well, you know, whenever I think of a band name, I try to think of it as a clothing thing. Like if the name sells itself without you knowing what it is, then that's even better. And I'm like, you could put that across a chick's ass. Hell yeah. You could put it across a guy's chest on a shirt. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And everywhere we went, everybody kept saying it. So finally we're like, that's it. It's named Hell Yeah.
Very cool.
The HY symbol, that's my actual handwriting still to this day. I was at home laying in bed drinking sake because Glenn would always give me big bottles of sake for like birthday and Christmas. And I always kept it in my refrigerator. And I remember I was watching like 6 Feet Under or something, drinking sake. And I had the idea and I grabbed a pen and a Sharpie and I scribbled out the HY symbol. And I was like, this is actually kind of cool. And I sent it to him and everybody was like, we think we like it. And then they ended up we wanted to use it. And then we had other artists redraw it and they never could draw it right the same. So we just scanned that. And then that's what everybody has tattooed on. It's my actual handwriting still to this day. That's what's on my gold records. That's what's on the albums. That's what's on every shirt. It's that same exact one.
Dude, that's sick for sure, man. As in, yeah, hell yeah. Right on, dude. Right. Bobby, let's kick it up to you for final thoughts and stuff, and then we'll give Jerry back his evening.
So, Jerry, you know, just to blow a little smoke up your skirt, I got Mr. Mark Weiss just said, tell Jerry I said hello, and he's texting me right now, and he yelled at me. He goes, did you get my photos done yet? So, but Mark says hello, and wishes you all the best. He goes, oh my God, I forgot you guys were doing the show tonight. So, yeah, he was just doing, he just finished up a photo shoot with Skid Row for their new album.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah. And, you know, look, Jerry, thank you so much for, you know, doing this and throwing everything out. And next week, let's get together. I know Doug's back. He's in Nashville this weekend.
Nice. He's a good dude.
Right on, man.
So Wednesday night, I think we have an event we're doing. It's a bullshit event. We're either doing it I think we're doing it at the Whiskey, and then we're going over to Lemmy's place.
Oh, okay. The Rainbow.
Yeah, we'll walk over to we'll stumble to the Rainbow.
Right on. Yeah, yeah. The cruise. It sounds like it's going to be fun. I was going to do it with.
No, but this is a pre-event, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be Hal Sparks and a bunch of people. We got to.
I like Hal Sparks. He's a nice guy.
Mark's coming out, Slaughter, so everybody's going to be there. So
I was going to do it with Green Jello.
that
Oh no!
the first one, yeah.
That's just my buddy. Like the singer from Green Jello is a good friend of mine, and I did the Warp Tour with him years back and had the best fucking time. But he's doing the Kiss Cruise, I guess.
Nice, that's rad.
So that
Angel,
should be interesting.
anything from yourself, Angel?
No, it was all good. Like I said, just grateful for your time, dude, for sticking us for over 2 hours. So.
Dude, Angel, it's nice to meet you, all you guys, and thank you so much for having me. And it was fun, and it's always great to meet new people. And thank you.
Absolutely, for sure, Jerry. And congratulations, man, on your continued sobriety, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely, dude. You're
9 years.
stand-up.
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, man. You're a stand-up dude. It's been super cool continuing to connect with you, man. You fucking rock. But tell everybody where you can be found, and if you've got current projects or current music that you're allowed to talk about real quick, we'd love to hear about it as a capper.
Just check out my Instagram, Jerry Montano, my Twitter, the Jerry Montano, Facebook. I don't really mess with, but my Instagram, find me there, and I'm always, happy to hear from anybody. And there's a bunch of new shit coming out in the new year, so there'll be stuff to see.
Sounds good.
And I'll always be on tour doing something.
good.
Absolutely. Can't wait to hang with you again in person, Jerry. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you, man. And it is October. Are you a horror movie guy?
Oh yeah, come on.
I
I own every fucking horror movie.
Oh, the Black Phone, love it.
I'm like crazy. I've been trying to get into doing horror conventions next year, actually.
Dude, I'm a regular at the Monster Mania Con that takes place in Baltimore and Jersey, dude. Would love to see you at that one.
Yeah, I just did Monster Palooza this last weekend.
Nice. Yeah, I just saw Smile yesterday.
What'd you think?
I thought it was cool. I really liked it. And
what did you think about Halloween Ends?
Oh man, like I liked it for what it was worth, dude. But it was weird seeing him reduced to dust. Like
yeah,
it was. I can't say I fully approved of that message.
I didn't. I was like, what did you think of the Munsters?
Here's the thing. Personally, I really liked it.
So did I.
I got exactly what I wanted out of that movie. The people that are ripping it apart, and some of them are like my really good friends, like Lonnie Paul from Adler, like he was ripping it apart on Facebook.
But it's like, what do you expect it to be? I mean, yeah. There was a point when it ended, I was like, that's it?
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like the story was just, there was none. It just all of a sudden, they're like, here's your check. You're rich now. Bye. The end. But I got exactly what I thought. It's colorful. It's funny. It's super light. The movie that I just saw that I really fucking like of this year is the Marvel one. That's good. Werewolf.
Yeah. I was just talking with somebody about that like a couple hours ago. They said
at night I'm a werewolf or something like that.
Yeah, like the Marvel TV show.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah, my hairdresser Steph was cutting my hair today, telling me how much I needed to start watching that. But also a couple of days ago, I saw the new Terrifier.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's cool. It's bloody. It's vicious. It's awesome.
Watch the werewolf one. It's actually really good. It's all black and white.
Oh,
and
cool.
It has all the right elements. It's not like the Marvel thing on it makes it, you think it's going to be a certain way. It's not, and it's awesome. It's
Nice.
just it's like a dash of Ed Wood.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like a dash of like I would say like that Gene Wilder fucking Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein, and then it's like old horror. It's actually
Yes.
good.
Steph
Right
said
now-
it did have like a Universal Monsters feel to it.
Right now, I never saw or watched, and I just started watching over the past couple of weeks when I have time. Is the Haunting of Hill House?
Yes.
That's pretty fucked up so far. I have 2 more to go, but I've been really good at that.
And they did a follow-up called like The Haunting of like Blythe House or something like that too.
Is
From
that
the same-
part of it? I hope so.
It's like the same producers or creators or something.
Cool.
But that one was really, really cool. But
But yeah,
Jerry,
horror, love it.
hell yeah, awesome, man. Well, happy Halloween. Thank you for so much for for picking up my message and being down for the experience, dude.
Dude,
really
it's always great to
appreciate
see
man.
you. You've always been great. Fucking
Yeah.
thanks for having me, Angel. Both you guys,
Man,
thank you so much.
Thank
It was a
you.
pleasure.
Definitely love the stories,
And
dude.
please hit me up on the socials so we can all stay in touch.
I
And
will.
everybody out there watching this
Mm.
who's going to see it, thank you
Perfect.
for listening to all my bullshit and being a part of this and fucking supporting fucking people that do what they love, the Metal Summit. That's really great.
Jerry, real quick. Well, I'll wait till you're off. But are you closer to LA or are you more down near Orange County?
No, I'm in Burbank, man. I'm like 5 minutes from Hollywood.
Oh, great. Okay, so Wednesday would be cool for you to kick down and hang.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes from me.
Great.
Awesome. And thank you so
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for supporting
Thank you, Jerry.
Jerry and
What a
all of
great
his
night.
various projects. And thank you so much for supporting the Metal Summit. Guest announcement for next week will be later this week. We're looking forward to having our Halloween episode. It's always a great one. But on behalf of the Metal Summit, for Bobby Dreyer, follow him on BobbyDreyer.com. Follow Angel on his Instagram, his Facebooks. The Real Psycho Steve at his Instagram and Facebooks. And Just a R&R Junkie or myself, Salem, at Facebook and all that stuff as well. But support Jerry. We appreciated his time and everything he's got going. Metal Summoners, we love you. We'll see you guys in a week. Horns up, fangs out. We'll see you guys really, really soon. As always, you've been watching the Metal Summit.